We got a terrific interview. Who do we got, folks?
Yeah, our guest today is Audrey Henson, congressional candidate in Florida's 13th district. She's great. It's a great interview. Stick around for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that interview. I've talked to her a couple of times. She seems exceptional, the kind of candidate that you want.
She's cool, and she's got a great life story, the sort of story and the sort of background I think we need more of in Washington. So,
yeah, no, I listen, I completely agree. Well, we got a big interview, don't we, Dunks?
We do. We got Audrey Henson running in Florida's 13th congressional district. Let's get to the interview. I want to welcome to the program Audrey Henson. Welcome.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate being here.
Well, so, we were talking here before the interview got started. You are a minion yourself, an avid listener to the variety program.
Yeah, I have been for a while. I was saying my favorite part of the Ruthless podcast is just the fact that I feel like we're all friends. I feel like we're sitting in my backyard drinking drinks and just ranting about what new crazy thing the Democrats decided to do today and thought they could get away with. And this is one of those few podcasts that's really making sure that they're not going to get away with much more anymore at all. And I really do love that about Ruthless.
Awesome. Love to hear it. So what got you involved in politics?
Yeah, honestly, I was never trying to actually be involved in politics. For me, my pursuit of working in public service was always really personal. And I think to understand that, you got to know a little bit about my background. So I grew up, with a single mom and a dad who unfortunately, struggled with alcohol and opioid abuse. I grew up in Pinellas County, Florida, which was one of the top 3 counties in the entire nation that struggled with the opioid crisis. So, my story down here is not unique. A lot of families face what we faced, and because of the challenges, it really led to a life of my family struggling to get out of poverty. There were times that, when the economy was good, we were off those government welfare programs, but there were a lot of times when we were on them: food stamps, Medicaid, even housing subsidies. There were plenty of Christmases where I was that angel tree kid. We'd put what we wanted on the tree, and folks at church or Publix would give us gifts. And I got to see from a very early age just how broken Washington really is. These welfare programs that were designed to help us really end up hurting us. And some people get mad when I say that, and they say, how hypocritical you use these programs. Well, the fact that my family ended back up on them multiple times just goes to show you it's not working. The Democrats have designed these programs with the mission of growing the government. I'm a big believer in reforming these and changing that mission to helping Americans get out of poverty. And that's why, I went to college and studied political science with really the sole intent of shrinking the size of government, reforming our welfare system, and helping low-income Americans like myself achieve the American dream. And a lot of candidates, talk about the American dream, and they've got 10 houses and they're sitting on millions and they inherited a business from their
easy
dad.
For them.
Yeah, easy for you to say. To me, that's not the American dream. I think the American dream is the life I'm living right now. I got a house that I love in a community that I grew up in, about to marry the love of my life, Audrey Henson, soon. And we run a small construction business together. And, we're not rich, but we're happy and we're comfortable. But we're, still on that edge that when we see these inflation prices, whenever we see the issues happening in the supply chain, it affects us. We spent our weekend cleaning out our garage fridge. Yes, I have a garage fridge. I may have left the trailer park, but I still got my little trailer culture over here. And we froze a bunch of meat. And that's something that, quite frankly, I don't think a lot of these Republicans, these elected Republicans, can relate to. I really do think it's time that the conservative party and this movement starts welcoming people who live like regular Americans. I'm running to work for the working class. That's what my entire race is about. I'm the only person in my race who's actually even from the district. And I mean, no disrespect to my opponents, but I think being from a district, having started a nonprofit here, having started a business here, truly understanding this community and the unique needs that they have, that they want to see, in Washington, I think that's worth something.
So tell me a little bit more about that nonprofit, because I was reading up on a little bit on it, and it sounds pretty fascinating.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So I started College to Congress back in 2016, and it really came about based on my own story. So after I studied political science at the University of South Florida, I wanted to go intern for Senator Marco Rubio. And I was so pumped. I was, like so many other minions, probably like the token conservative in my massive university. And I had to answer to what every single Republican in America decided to do. Audrey, why did Bush do this? Or why is Cheney saying that? So it was always ridiculous. And I couldn't wait to go be surrounded by other Republicans working in politics. I quickly found that there were two massive barriers keeping out regular Americans like myself from a career public service. One was simply money. When I first interned in 2012, 95% of Capitol Hill internships weren't paid. So if you didn't have a mommy or daddy that could write you a $10,000 check for you to go live in one of the most expensive cities in America, you couldn't say yes to that opportunity. The second issue was even getting that internship, getting the opportunity. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Michael, the internships are kind of like the fourth donor tier. It's like, yes, I'm going to pick up your call. Yes, I'm going to write a bill for you. And when your kids want to intern or if they want to come to DC, I'll have a spot for them in my office. And that sort of nepotism, to me, has created a fail up mentality. We got a lot of people on Capitol Hill who are supposed to be writing laws for us, who are supposed to be representing regular Americans, who are just there because they've been there. It's just longevity. I mean, politics it's a hard business because, there's very rarely one sole person or reason for why something passes, why a bill passes, why a candidate wins. I always think it's odd when someone says, I got that person elected. It's like, well, you and the candidate who also did a great job. Good job on your strategy. The candidate did a great job. Fundraising did a great job. Thank you to our volunteers. So there's really no one sole champion in politics. And because of that, people have been able to build these careers where they've become almost as powerful as the members of Congress themselves, simply because they got a foot in the door and they were able to stay. They had that lasting power. And I just didn't think that was right. I didn't think that was okay. I, like so many of your listeners, am really upset about the debt our country is in and the total mismanagement of our nation's finances. And 70% of the money we're spending is going to social welfare programs. So you can't tell me that you're interested in getting our country out of debt, on getting us less reliant to China, and that you're not passionate about reforming our welfare programs and shrinking the size of government. Those all go hand in hand. And so my way of fixing that was creating College to Congress, helping low-income Americans get in the pipeline, write these laws, help fix these programs, change the mission of them. And, in 5 years, it's really skyrocketed. What started in 2016 as an idea that I was kind of seeing, as Trump was rising and we started hearing a lot about this forgotten man, I really thought, what would become president, but then candidate Trump, I was like, he's speaking to me and my people. Like what he is saying is what I've heard my entire life. It's what I felt like regular Americans, especially low income and middle class Americans, feel forgotten. And that was happening at the same time I was building my business plan. Fast forward 5 years later, we've helped 1,500 students get internships. We have a 90% success rate, actually the highest among any internship program, 90% success rate, turning that internship into a full-time career that not only are they getting to do a job they're passionate about, they're also breaking the cycle of poverty in their families. Having these kids go to Washington and work in DC is just about the coolest thing that anyone in their family has ever done. And I've also testified in Congress as an expert 4 times on reforming our Congress, on shrinking it, on making it more efficient, on making it more effective. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I started College of Congress. I started a construction company called By the Bay Bobcats. I love problems. I love finding solutions to them. And I really do think the legacy of College to Congress is truly going to be the program that helped transform Congress from the inside out.
Wow, that's great. Great to hear. So tell me a little bit more about the construction company. And in particular, I'm really curious your perspective on the issues that we're having, with the supply chain and labor shortages and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, this really came about in an interesting way. My younger brother, so I have two younger brothers. My middle brother, Jeffrey, was working in construction rental equipment for the last 5 years. And during COVID, he saw an opportunity for us to start a business and really help serve Pinellas. And so one of the things he was realizing is as the cost of supplies are starting to increase, and we were only seeing it slightly last fall. Of course, now it's absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I mean, the cost of lumber alone is just insane, and it's slowing down a ton of construction down here in Florida. But as these costs continue to rise, and as people continue to flood from these Democratic states to DeSantis land, there's going to be a need for new homes, for rehabbed homes over the next 10 years. I mean, Florida really we're on the verge of a housing crisis. We have a housing shortage that's going to last for over a decade. Even right now, my own father is still living in Section 8 housing, and I'm trying to help him find an affordable home or even affordable rent so he can move out of, these horrible conditions. And so as you can tell, I feel very passionately about helping low and middle income families. And so we decided to not just feel passionate, but actually do something and build something. And so we started By the Bay Bobcats. We're really hoping to grow it into a new construction build. Right now we're doing demolition, excavation. We're even doing some hardscaping work, which, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but I'm down in Pinellas County, Florida. We're surrounded by the Gulf Coast. We got lots of issues right now with red tide, water pollution. Part of how you fix that is getting rid of fertilizer and grass and doing hardscaping. California went through this. Unlike California, we're not mandating people and forcing them to do that. Instead, people are choosing to get involved on their own. But I mean, we're seeing what so many other small business owners are seeing. It has been incredibly hard to find people who are willing to work. I will say again, credit to DeSantis. I could just talk about him all day. We love him down here. Thank God he ended the additional stimulus benefits. We have started to see an uptick now in jobs getting done and people willing to go back to work. But we just started our company in November, and we were really hitting that growth spurt around May and June. And Andrew and I were interviewing potential employees so that we could grow our crews and obviously make more money, be able to do more jobs. And we had over a dozen people straight to our face say, would love to work with you guys. My benefits run out in October. Or, hey, can I call you whenever my stimmy checks are done?
Jeez.
I know, it's first off, no, now we're not going to hire you.
It doesn't sound like a motivated employee. Yeah.
Yeah, but I almost can't blame them.
Right.
Listen, you almost can't blame them. And sometimes whenever people say, oh, they're just so lazy, it's well, never underestimate human nature.
Right.
The Democrats have literally designed an environment that is incentivizing people not to work. I mean, if you could make the same amount of money, or at least close to, going to the beach every day and being with your family and going out to eat and working on your house or doing whatever makes you happy versus doing a manual labor construction job where you're out in the Florida sun sweating and having dirt all over you, what would you pick?
Right.
I mean, this is the issue with what Democrats are doing. They are, truly, in my opinion, designing a socialist society, and they're luring you in with the easiest thing it is, luxury of time. People really do feel like they're given a free check and now they get to control their own time. And that's why we just love DeSantis. Thank God he ended these early unemployment benefits. I get really worried though, because AOC, Nancy Pelosi, just last month dropped a new bill proposing to bring these additional $600 benefits back through next February. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You can tell they've never ran a business because they don't know how much it's hurting small business owners. I mean, we're truly the backbone of this country. And Democrats who act like they hate big corporations, they're giving them all the advantage. I mean, every single day, I feel like I'm competing against the government for just an employee. Then once we make money, you know, they're going to want half of it. I mean, it's really scary what's happening right now.
Man. Yeah. No, I mean, it's, you know, we hear it from a bunch of people. It's a really tough place. And especially for a lot of these small businesses who did everything that they could to survive COVID, right?
I know.
And you know, thankfully, you know, we're reopening, thanks to people like Ron DeSantis, reopening America.
Right.
And now the government wants to come back and take even more of your money for the privilege of having survived, you know?
The blows, I mean, it feels like the blows don't stop coming. It's like they kicked us while we were down. You got these hardworking people, you know, Andrew and I, again, like bootstrapping this company, trying to build it and build a company that we're proud of to serve the community here in Pinellas County that we live in. And it really, every single chance the government gets, they're not only trying to get into our pocketbook to get into our business, but they're trying to destroy it. And I don't know how we're going to have, you know, stories like mine of growing up poor and getting to, you know, hopefully leave some money left for your kid if we end entrepreneurship and if we end the ability for people to be able to create their own companies and create their own wealth and create jobs. I mean, to me, it's very simple. I don't know why the Democrats struggle with this one so much. Again, I don't think they have a lot of experience in business. So that's probably why they need to go back to their little macro and microeconomics classes and learn something.
Amen. Amen. So tell me a little bit more about that community. So you're running for Congress in Florida's 13th congressional district. What are you hearing from people on the ground?
You know, it's a really interesting district. So if, you know, your listeners like sports and they're familiar with Tampa Bay, so we're the district that wins everything. Unfortunately, we're also the area that continues to lose this congressional seat. We had a Republican congressman who represented this area for about 40 years. And since then, we've had carpetbaggers who literally come in as one party and leave as the next. And this area is really just, we've gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to leadership. And that's part of why I decided to step up and serve, because I saw the two options we had in our Republican primary, and I realized neither of them could win in a general. You know, this seat, even if you don't live in Florida, it really does have a national importance because it's a swing seat. It's very, very purple. And it's one of these 5 seats that we're relying on to flip and get that gavel out of Pelosi's tight grip. I mean, this is a seat that could literally help get us over the edge if we elect the right kind of conservative. And I mean, my work with College to Congress, bipartisan, my entire life of representing low-income communities has mass appeal here. I mean, we're talking about a very low to middle income community where the average income is under $46,000 a year. So like, these are really my people. I know I can win in a general. Now I just need to get through this tough primary. In Florida, we have late primaries. It's one of the only things I don't like about our system here is you got a primary. Once you win it, you only have 60 days to change the general.
Right. You got to turn around and raise a ton more money and sprint to election day. Yeah, no, it's tough.
It's an expensive media market. I mean, this is Tampa Bay. It's one of the top 10 expensive media markets. Running a week of television ads is upwards of $500,000. But again, that goes back to the importance of my candidacy. You know, I was asked to run here by local Republicans because they saw the impact I've already had changing Congress from the outside and said, Audrey, imagine what you could do in there. And they know I could hold this seat. You know, the voter registration in this area is a third Republican, a third independent, and a third Democrat. So you're not going to win this seat ever, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, just talking to your own base. You got to be able to reach across the aisle. You got to be able to flip some of those independent voters. And I'm the kind of candidate that can do that. I'm not out here to do this politics for profit and build a brand and be on Fox News every day and try to sell t-shirts on Instagram. For me, it's about serving the people from here because those are my people. This is where my family grew up. My family's 9th generation Floridian. I'm running to represent them.
Wow. Well, I like the pitch. That's good.
Go to the voters here.
Yeah.
I just got in the race last month on September 8th. And in just 22 days, I raised over $206,000.
Nice.
And the majority of that money was small dollar donations from voters right here in the district. A lot of people have never given before. Electricians, plumbers, contractors, even some teachers. Not all the teachers are liberal, by the way, guys. Some
Yes.
of them are good.
Yes. Yeah. No, we give the teachers unions a hard time, but it's a good reminder. Yeah.
We'll give the unions a hard time, but I think we got an opportunity here to start flipping some of these teachers. They hate the mask too. They hate teaching on Zoom. Most of the teachers I talk to hate CRT.
Yeah.
They don't want to be doing this. They view teaching as a public service. They don't want to be teaching anti-American propaganda. Again, I think it goes back to messaging. We have a real opportunity in 2022 to elect people like me that have mass appeal and that can reach out, just like Trump did, reach out to people who are never interested in politics, who feel like government is just being thrust on them right now, and they don't like it, and they want someone to fix that.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. We like to call it the trial of socialism. We're getting sort of the trial membership of socialism right now, empty shelves at the grocery store.
Oh my gosh, it's so scary.
Yeah, no, and that has a way of getting people engaged really quickly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Takeaway options for Americans, we're going to finally write in the street. You got us.
That's right. So to shift gears here, we always, and as you listen, obviously, so you know what's coming, but we end each of these interviews with 3 questions. Number 1, last meal on earth, what would it be?
I love this question. I would go so hard on some Tex-Mex from Sea Dog Cantina in Clearwater. Since it's my last meal, I don't have to worry about the diet. I'm starting with like a queso blanco chorizo order,
Nice.
couple margaritas with salt, probably throw in like some crispy chicken quesadillas, flautas, probably end with some like fried ice cream and maybe chips and salsa on the back end, depending on how much salt I want that day. But I would just go all in on like fresh Gulf grouper tacos and Tex-Mex.
Man, that's a good order. That is a good order.
Makes me hungry.
Yeah.
Thinking about visualizing this amazing table to myself, like gorging alone.
Oh, that's a good answer. So, if you weren't, running for public office, what would you be doing with your life? Let's say aside from the construction company and obviously the nonprofit, pie in the sky, you could do anything else. What would it be?
Well, hey, I'm in DeSantis land, which is basically our version of Disneyland. So I feel like we can do that pie in the sky dreaming. If I had the talent, I'd be a professional tennis player. I love tennis. My fiance and I met at a election watch party. So check one, I knew he was a Republican. Then I found out he was a Christian too. And then I found out he played tennis, and I got a free tennis coach in this marriage. So I would love to be a tennis player and, get to travel and play doubles all across the world.
Nice. And then our final question, what motivates you more, the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat? The thrill of victory, the eternal optimist, glass half full, agony of defeat, that you are consumed by the fear that you might lose, and that drives you to succeed. Which is it for you?
I'm definitely an internal optimist. How can I not be, given the life I've had already? I'm running to represent Tampa Bay, and I wake up every single day in this race with a championship mentality. I literally get up and I visualize winning, and I visualize throwing my hands up and hugging my team and giving that acceptance speech. And I got the idea from Tom Brady. Tom Brady every single day gets up and visualizes himself winning that Sunday. And I think if you're going to try to represent an area that's full of winners, you got to embody that, and you got to do that too. I'd say hands down, optimistic. I'm a big believer that if you put your mind to something, and I've seen this with my own life, like I know no one's going to outperform, or outpace me if I want to do something. And so I got to be optimistic, and I got to be going for the goal.
Awesome. I love it. And I love Champa Bay. That's a nice saying. I like that a lot.
How can you not? How can you not? Hey, maybe you'll move down here one day. All of America's doing it anyways.
Well, my parents live in Sarasota, so not too far away.
Not too far at all.
Yeah. So
They'll have to pop up and come to one of our events. I'd love to.
I may take you up on that. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck. Appreciate it so much.
Michael, I appreciate it so much. And just for your listeners, if you'd like to learn more about me, if you want to support my race, just go to audreyhenson.com. While you're there, sign up. And of course, don't forget, let's go, Brandon.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
So she's great. I think her life story, her background, obviously gives her a perspective that we need more of in Washington.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Coming from a low income family where, your father has struggled with, opioid abuse and alcoholism, and, you get a internship in Washington, you look around, you're like, there's not a lot of people like me here. Like, how can I change the system?
That's the most impressive part to me, is that she watches all of these silver spoons fail upwards and tries to do something about it.
Right. I mean, I think if we had more people from her background on Capitol Hill, it would change the way that we approach public policy in a lot of ways. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I think the economics of, the internship programs on Capitol Hill and all this stuff, you end up with a lot of folks who they don't have as much at stake as people like her, and so I just appreciated that a lot. And, clearly she understands the district a lot. It's going to be a frontline district, critical to us flipping the House. And look, I mean, it's a district where you've got about 33% Republicans, 33% Democrats, 33% independents. So it's like you got to figure out a way to talk to people other than the base.
Yeah, we need people like that.
That's what I'm saying. Is we get great candidates like this. We got tailwinds going into this. I think Audrey's one of the ones we're going to rack up some wins with. So.